So we've all been there before. You're fighting a war battle, everything's going perfectly, and then all of a sudden, this dude right here pops out of one of the outposts. So one of the biggest struggles in the game right now is fighting against Deluge and Beachcomber as they're on the defensive side coming out of the outpost. So today I'm going to show you 4 quick strategies that make it much easier for you to take on Beachcomber and Deluge. Before we start talking about how to defeat Beachcomber and Deluge, I think it's really important to highlight what makes them so difficult to fight against. And so in this case, the first thing I like to look at is his stats. Now, what I'm looking at right here is Beachcomber, level 70. He's at the general rank, so he has all 5 ranks, and that's putting him at 82 K, over a little bit over 82K health wise. Now, on top of that, when you look at his ability, uh, it's kind of a lot to deal with. He makes ally invisible. During that, he's got a little bit of hacking going on. But then you just keep looking at everything that piles on to it. You've got this G1 core, this one of the best G1 cores in the game. He's going to code himself, and that golden lagoon, trying to keep it lore accurate. So he's going to have not the golden lagoon core, but his G1 core gives him a gold coating. That's going to increase his health by 15.5%, and it's going to add reflection, so he's getting 30% reflection. And then on top of that, he gets a new cheer that, when used, boosts special ability damage of all allies by 20% for 13 seconds. So a lot of times what you'll see is you'll see him in crowded areas. And on top of that, and I'll actually jump out of the screen for a second so you can see, but a lot of people are using the combat Jays or Barrow, well, Barrow being the Decepticon side. So this one's at ability 11. It's a 5-star. It blocks 23%. It's 20% at level 10. And, so it's blocking all of that damage. Every 15 seconds, it's going to gain an additional 20% extra health for 5 seconds. Um, it's launching energy discs, so that can pierce through some of your shields. And and that has 1.5 times the bot's DPS, which isn't too huge, but when you combine all of those things together, it can actually make it really difficult. On top of that, when you go and you look at his rank, and I'll jump back in the screen real quick. When you go look at his rank at general, he's got 25% more health, 25% more damage. I mean, yeah, and damage. And we just looked at it. That puts him at a total of 82K, 82 415 to be exact. On top of that, he's getting an absorption shield for 15 seconds. I believe that's at 30% as well. Whenever he falls below 50% health. So all things considered, um, very, very difficult to deal with. I know it's been a lot of talk about possible Beachcomber and Deluge nerf. I don't know how that's going to work out, but as it stands currently, there's a couple of different tactics that you can use in order to make it easier on yourself. So let's talk about those real quick. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about my first example here. And before I get the video started, what I really want to talk about is the situations in which you're going to use um, this next tactic. So in this particular tactic, I have a modified version of my war team, and one of the things that I'm looking at is taking out Deluge by either stunning him or hacking him. Now, there are other tactics that I want to talk about that I could actually use in conjunction with this one, but there's 2 things I'm really focused on primarily here is stunning him, and what that allows you to do is to keep him from getting additional health um, through the use of his combat, which like I earlier I said, most people are using Jays or Barrow on Beachcomber and Deluge respectively. So let's watch how this plays out. You'll actually get to see my opener. I always cut out the tops of the screens when I'm doing breakdowns like this. I'm never trying to embarrass anyone. But here, my opener, one of the ones I like to use, I like to stun those Spider-Man. So I come out there with Bludgeon, who is Ironhide for you guys on the Autobot side. And then I follow up with a little bit of Rodimus Unicronus, who's Inferno for you guys on the Autobot side. Start taking out my build bots and clearing a path for my bots. Now, I still wind up having Bludgeon run away. That ultimately, that's going to be fine. And Deluge is actually, well, Beachcomber is actually going to come out of this very first outpost. So just take a look at that. Now he is going to put his hack there on the MDS with the Vector Prime Core, not a problem. I am now going to switch to my combiner. Now, the purpose of the combiner in this particular case is going to be so that I can clear out some of the other defenses that remain in the back. It's one of the dangers of backloaded bases is that there's a lot that you got to take care of, and you've usually used a lot of ability points. So after, and I've dropped my hologram so that Computron there doesn't attack my team. He attacks the holograms. And then watch what I do here with Thundercracker, who's Silverbolt on you guys' side on the Autobots. And he's just going to stay there. And even though there's a lot of fire right there, it's not the ideal situation that I was looking for here. But you can kind of see that his health is starting to go down. I mean, Thundercracker did a bunch of damage. And don't focus so much on the bot, focus on the concept. And the concept here is that you just want to keep him in place, keep him from attacking your squad, keep him from rejuvenating health. And he actually goes down pretty easily. And even though my team lost quite a bit of health here, they're able to advance the battlefield and complete the base. This is one of the harder tactics to pull off cleanly. So I'm going to focus on a couple of the easier tactics here. So let's take a look at those as well. Okay, so in the second example, I want to highlight something specific about the base layout. Now, all of the examples that I'm using are from bases that are good defenders in top wars. And in this particular case, the base here is somewhat front loaded. It's balanced, but one thing that I want you to take a look at are the locations of the resources. Now you can't see them here, but the resources are all the way in the back. This is an advantage, a strategy that people use to get an advantage, not just easily giving up a bunch of ability points for you to gain as you fight your way through the battle. Now, there's one drawback to this, and that particular drawback is going to be a strategy that I use with the 5-star God Neptune. And the 5-star I want to emphasize because it's really important for what I'm about to do next. So let's go ahead and look at my opener here. And I actually really, really like fighting against front-loaded bases, and you'll kind of see why here in a second. But what I like to do, and people hate that I do this, but it really does work, is I'll drop my whole squad and I'll get my tank out front, and then I'll come in with Rodimus Unicronus, and I'll start to use all of my area of effect attacks just to get the bottom half of the base cleared out. And while I'm doing that, I'll also go pick out my problem build bots. For me, typically, that's the anti-fire ones, the fireproof dome. And what I'm doing right now is just setting myself a path to go straight to the HQ. You can actually see all of those resources there in the back. And so now I'll just focus on taking out all of the defenses up front, Beachcombers down there in the bottom right outpost. So I don't want to get hacked. I also don't want Raiden to start tearing up my team. So here shortly, I'm going to go ahead and use my combiner. Now, I still got, you know, a decent amount of defenses down, but I still got a few that are still standing. And so what I'm gonna do is take my combiner up to well, I'm gonna clear some stuff out, kind of like I was saying in the last portion, um, in that example. And what I want to do is work my way to the top of the screen. So found a little corner there. Gonna put God Neptune there. Now I'm gonna drop his hologram. It's his 5-star ability, and it's gonna serve two purposes. It's going to allow the holograms to continue destroying resources at the top of the building, but it's also going to serve as a point where it is going to attract all of the defenses. You see Beachcomber being one of those outpost bots. Um, and even though my team kind of starts to face um, the outpost bots, they're also doing a bunch of damage on HQ. So that allows them to destroy HQ without even worrying about fighting any of the outpost bots. All right, so I got one more strategy for you, and let's check that out. All right, so for my last example, I want to do a different strategy, but before I do, I want to explain it a little bit. So, in a lot of bases where they have kind of like a split base type dynamic, in this case, they actually got it filled up pretty well, so it's actually pretty balanced. But you notice that all of the outposts are in the very back of this base design. And what that does for the defender is it keeps you held up for that healing cluster with all the MDS and everything, making it really, really difficult. And in this case, they put all of their stuff in the front, all of their resources and a few of their defenses that they don't really care about, they stuck in the front. So in a lot of cases, you either are gonna path really poorly or you're gonna burn up a bunch of ability points trying to take down all of the items in the front, all of the defenses and buildings in the front. Because of that, a lot of times when people have Beachcomber and Deluge up there, it gets you kind of right there in that kill zone when all of the stronger defenses in the back are trying to picking away at you. So what the goal is here is to try to draw Beachcomber or Deluge down to the bottom after you've cleared out all of the front half of the base. So let's see how that looks. Now in this case, I put Bludgeon up there just so he can um, take the MSM. I don't want to run the risk here of getting dead end or cup for you guys on the Autobot side hit. Now, typically I can do it without you don't have to trip the MSM if you don't want to. But what I do is I teleport them up into the area where the outposts are. I do end up dropping my team and taking quite a bit of damage here. That's honestly a little bit of a mistake on my part, but I'll just go ahead and throw down one of Flatline's towers, and that's Minerva for you guys on the Autobot side. And I will just start to work on the bottom of that base. You see here I'm starting to use Rodimus Unicronus. I'll start to take out some of my build bots and I'll rejuvenate some of my points as I clear out the bottom half of that base. Now, with that said, one of the things that I'm really looking for is for these outposts to kind of pile up at the bottom. You can see that I have taken out the combiner, and in the middle of that cluster back there is Beachcomber. And the point of this strategy is to minimize the amount of defenses that you're getting hit by while you fight him. Now here, I actually hacked him, so the team is going to follow him up to the top of the base, which is going to be a good thing because it's actually going to put me in position to try to take out some of the defenses up top. Now in this particular case, I have used a bunch of my ability points If I had more ability points, I'd probably try to clear out some of that stuff in the top. This is going to be a good opportunity for me to come in with my combiner, try to clean up what I can near the top of that base. It's also going to keep me from getting chewed up by Twin Twist there. I like to use my combiner at a decent range so he's not getting beat on by the MDS. And I also got a good recharge going for my Titans. I'm going to use my Titan on the base. I also dropped down my holograms to try to eat up some of that damage, even though they got killed pretty quickly. But it's not going to make any difference because, the tough part is done. What usually happens to a lot of people is they get stuck there fighting Beachcomber and Deluge, and even though I'm taking a lot of damage from the MDS, I'm actually able to deal damage back to the MDS because I got rid of Beachcomber and Deluge. Or Beachcomber in this case for, if you're Autobot, you be fighting against Deluge. And it just lets me clean up, and all I lost was my sack bot and my healer. But those are three of the common ways that I like to go fight against Beachcomber and Deluge. Let me know in the comments if you have any other ways that I didn't mention in here, and eventually I'll get around and do a video about that as well. And also, don't forget to check out my live streams. It's Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you there, and I will see you on the battlefield. Freezius out.